Ladies and gentlemen, this is Toumba number 5. We're off to Greece, home of democracy, philosophy, moussaka, and financial crises. Not home, somewhat controversially, to the Elgin Marbles. More specifically, we're heading to the Toumba Stadium, where we'll be taking over the Pan-Thessalonian Athletic Club of PAOK. We'll be taking over at PAOK. As you all know, there's a lot to get through when starting a new career, so I'm going to give you the headlines and we'll explore some of the subjects in more detail in later episodes. So, without further ado, the setup. We're playing in real-world mode with the first transfer window disabled. Greece is loaded, obviously, along with the default suggested leagues for the Big Five, and then the top leagues for neighbouring nations like Bulgaria and Turkey, and countries with a large Greek diaspora like Australia and Argentina. We're using Serbia for the start date to get a couple of extra weeks pre-season, as PAOK will be competing in Conference League qualifiers. I play with my pseudo-attributeless skin. Instead of numbers, attributes are shown as icons representing a range. The bigger, the better. Player search has been disabled. This means I can only sign players that have been scouted. I can request for specific players to be scouted, such as those we've played against or just well-known players. Staff search has also been disabled. This means I can only hire staff that are recommended to me or apply via the job centre. There is one exception, but I'll touch on that a little later. A little while back, I put a vote out to you guys as to how we should approach this career, with 3 very different styles: dogmatic, pragmatic, and vibes. There was a clear winner, so let me introduce Giannis Mustermann. Some call him dogmatic, others call him a dictator, a few just call him a Mustermann is a former Greek international striker who spent most of his playing days in Germany. More specifically, he spent time at Werder Bremen in the early 2000s under Thomas Schaaf and his infamous attacking 4-4-2 diamond, from which he takes a healthy dose of inspiration. After hanging up his playing boots, he returned to Central Macedonia to begin his coaching career at PAOK, where he quickly moved up the ranks. Then, having earned the trust of Chairman Ivan Savidis, he led a silent coup against the incumbent manager Razvan Lucescu after a disappointing 4th place finish last season. It's his way or the highway. Mustermann will be given full control to transform the club to his vision. PAOK are based in Thessaloniki, Greece's second city, named after the half-sister of Alexander the Great. A beautiful port city, I'm here for the virtual holiday as much as the club itself. PAOK are one of only a handful of teams to have never been relegated, and whilst their 3 league titles is good enough to make them the 4th joint most successful club, their achievements pale in comparison to the traditional powerhouses Olympiakos, Panathinaikos, and to some extent AEK. The team they are joint 4th with is intercity rivals Aris Salonika, although they have not tasted league success since the 1940s. If we're going to be dogmatic, we need some dogma. Our basic philosophy is Schaaf's diamond, but make it Greek. There's 2 base formations we'll work from, both variants of a 3-5-2, which will form a diamond in possession. It's an attacking style based around short passing and a high tempo. These things are immutable, but there will be some elements subject to change. I'll be going into far more detail over the course of the save. If we're going to be dogmatic, we need some followers. While some diversity of thought is welcome, the Church of Scientology is unlikely to recruit the Archbishop of Canterbury anytime soon. All that to say, I will be replacing staff with people who adhere to the following: a preferred formation that incorporates a back 3 or a front 2, attacking or adventurous mentality, more often or balanced pressing. Currently, there isn't a single person in the club that meets my criteria, so we'll focus on the key positions first: Director of Football, Head of Youth Development, B-Team Manager and Under-19s Manager. I mentioned earlier that there is one exception to my job centre rule. Umit Davala is a former Werder Bremen alumni who I've identified to be my right-hand man, and will be joining as assistant manager. At least I hope. If we're going to be dogmatic, we need some conditioning. Borrowing a concept that has often been used before, I have identified 5 attributes that I consider to be the club DNA. First touch, passing and technique, because we want to be good on the ball. Decisions, because we want to be smart. And teamwork, because they better listen to what I tell them to do. I'll be using the following training schedule, which focuses on those core attributes, whilst also dedicating a significant amount of time to training their individual roles too. Onto the squad, and rather than go through every player, I want to pick out a few that stand out, for better or worse. Andrija Zivkovic is our key player. Look, it says it right here. Once dubbed the Serbian Messi, it is fair to say that he didn't expect to find himself playing in the Greek Super League in his prime. His loss is our gain, and he's a player we can very much build around. Viorina is our captain, an ageing, slow, injury-prone captain. I can relate. Nonetheless, I doubt that we can rely on him to cover the entire right flank, and so his role might be more symbolic than practical in the final year of his contract. Schwab's your uncle, and my vice-captain. The most important quality any player can have is a pun-worthy name, and he, well, does the Schwab. Sorry. With Viorina likely to be on the fringes, Schwab becomes our de facto captain, and looks more than capable. Giannis Konstantelios is the boy wonder. In recent years, Greece has had a history of young promising attacking midfielders who failed to live up to the hype. The spectres of Sotiris Ninnis and Giannis Vetvatsidis loom large, but hopefully this time will be different. There are also high hopes for Kostas Kouliarakis. I should have probably apologised before now for my pronunciation of some of these names, but no time like the present. Sorry. Kouliarakis needs some refinement, but definitely looks like he can contribute at this level already. Finally, Brandon Thomas is our main striker, by virtue of being our only striker. His 24 goals over the last 6 years do not fill me with confidence, but thankfully reinforcements are on the way. For pre-season, we've cancelled everything pre-arranged and used our extra 2 weeks to balance things out. Friendlies are 4 days apart, to allow 1 day's recovery, 1 day's training, and 1 day's preparation. Once the Conference League games start up, we'll use B-team friendlies to maintain the fitness for the fringe players. Right, I think that's enough of that. Time for a montage. Wait, is that a snail and a whip on their badge? Freaks. I think that was fruitful. Loads of goals in pre-season. We might not be good, but we'll be entertaining. More importantly, we've come out of it relatively unscathed, just a couple of moderate injuries. Some pleasantly surprising good performances from a couple of players converted to new positions. Thomas Merg is a winger who's been playing at left wing-back and contributed 2 goals and 3 assists. He also looks like he's seen some Tyson, or should that be Iron Mike, scored 4 times, alternating between deep lying forward and false 9. I can't imagine a 35-year-old is all too keen on learning a new position, but it's working so far. On the staffing front, we found ourselves a director of football in Adolfo Aguirre, who seems pretty solid across the board and will essentially be our technical director and loan manager too. John Astasiadis comes in as B-team manager. He doesn't meet my formation criteria, but the guy was with us for 9 years in the 80s and 90s, is a club icon, and Greco-Australians are all the rage at the moment. Still looking for a head of youth development and under-19s manager though. We've set up nicely for our opening Conference League qualifier against Lithuania's Panevėžys, but that will have to wait until the next episode. See you then.